Alright, let's get into it. My name is Matt. I wanted to make this video to share all the knowledge I've channeled about parallel realities, and it all has started to come together in one piece. So I just wanted to share this information to you, to just document it and use it as you will, and maybe some things will actually make sense to you as well. So yesterday we channeled, before we start I want to tell many of you know what channeling is and how it happens for me, and many of you are not familiar. So basically a channeling is a state where you tap into the higher consciousness, which is basically a state when you meditate, when you relax your mind, and then through this state lift your energy to the higher densities above, and then pick up much information from there. So in other words, that could be channeling somebody who has died, and that could be channeling information from informational fields, and it could be also just how soon you receive understanding about certain things. So it's basically connection with the higher energy fields. So, and yesterday I had a dizzy head, and to me it interprets that there's somebody willing to do channel with me. So basically what it means is that you all of a sudden have a dizzy head and you're like, whoa, whoa, and you don't understand anything what's going on. You're like, everything is floating for you. If you would want to read something, it becomes like you need to focus, okay? And it's not like you're losing oxygen or blood pressure or something. It's like you're completely normal, you can completely stand, but you're floating away, energy takes over you. And these are the channeling states. So then we decided, I told my father that, okay, let's try to do channeling. I feel that somebody willing to do channeling. And I asked Father, what are you interested in? And he said, I'm interested in parallel realities and how do they actually work. So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And I was like sitting like this and sitting like this and sitting like this and sitting like this. My head was moving, my head was, doesn't matter. I recorded it all in Latvian, but we were talking in English, so it will be public on Latvian language. Sorry that it's not in English, but I will recover the story right now for you, so you all may hear and have the information. Although I think much of the time it's really interesting to hear actual words that come through, and not just to listen to my like remembrance of the information. So and my father was asking about, I will not look at the camera, but I'm trying to remember everything. My father was asking about parallel realities and how do actually people move from one reality to another reality. And like for a couple of minutes no information was coming, and then all of a sudden I start seeing blurry images, I start receiving some information, and there was a scientist from some kind of a human scientist from some kind. Many of these times I have a being called Enrico that helps me to get these people or beings or entities to get to the channeling. He helps them, and many times he just picks them, and you can now talk with him. And at that moment I didn't sense any presence of Enrico, but I sensed the presence of a conscious human being, like you and me and any other else, only with the consciousness a little bit higher than normally we have. And it was a scientist with white clothes, black pants, not jeans. I didn't know, still a different material. It was a different material any of I could recognize. And he was, to me, it looked something like autist people look like, but it doesn't matter what he looked like. And he had curly hair. And he was so excited with the thing he's doing. And he said, I'm really lonely because I have nobody to talk to. He works in a place where he's brought to a cabinet, a really large cabinet, like to me it seemed like 40 to 80 square meters, high ceilings. Now, high ceiling is like 3 meters something, and he had like a small kitchen there with some water, with some tables, and you wash your hands, you know, something, a service to the body. and he had like some screens and like equipment something, and on another side he had the equipment which he was working on. And at that point, that was as he told, this source energy manipulator, but I will use the term source energy because I don't know any other word to come closer, and he didn't also use the word source energy. I will describe in this video what the source energy in this concept would mean. The source energy only for this video means he showed that that there an energy fog, just imagine yourself an energy fog. It was in golden yellow like color. Just imagine yourself an energy fog. This energy fog is the light vibration, the vibration of light. He said that this light energy vibration consists everywhere and anywhere. Everything what we have here, material right here, consists of that bright energy wavelength. He said that this bulk source energy, this energy fog, this bright light energy of light, has he showed that they have equipment to harness it without information. And he was showing that this energy, they call it energy manipulator or something, this energy, it's really difficult to translate to English because it was so difficult to translate in Latvian. I'm not a scientist, so this energy made everything. My father was asking, so you are in the physical, what is physical world? And he said there's anything, nothing physical. What you can think of, but the story was basically from traveling into realities, and then it was getting tense about this topic which I'm sharing. But I will share all the information from the other side, from the back to the front. So he shared that this energy is nothing is physical. Everything is made out of this energy, this light energy, this energy of the light, the life wavelength. He showed that, imagine this fogged energy of fog, they encapsulated in some kind of energy energy equipment, energy encapsulating equipment, and they resonated with information. When information is stored on this equipment, on this fogged energy in this equipment, the energy, when the light energy starts vibrating, and it turns into the energy information of which was transformed, which was sent to that bright energy. And he said then you have like a manifestation of an object, but it's only the light energy that's has the information, and that thus then the information creates the vibration, and then it creates the object of you, me and everybody else, and tables and ceilings and everything. So it's basically what you can say, everything consists of this energy. And he said that other realities, and I'll get to the shifting to other realities, he said they consist of the same energy, only in a specific different vibration. And he was talking now to, as he said, a subject. And I'll share the longer story right now. He said that where he's working right now, he doesn't know actually where he is in space. What we got is he's in a cosmical spaceship, human-made, what we understood. He doesn't know in which actual location is he working in. He's brought to the cabinet and he doesn't know anything else. He has, like through screens, access to other similar research that has been done, so that he can study from these researchers, also make his research better. He needs only to report the concrete, the subject on what he is working on. He's not allowed to search where is he at this moment. He's not allowed to ask questions, he's not allowed to ask. He's brought to a cabinet, he doesn't know actually where he is, and you are working here. When I stood, he works like 12, it wasn't in hours, he said like half the time he works as this scientist. He is alone experimenting everything, and half the time he's like in another room where he sleeps and, you know, service of the body. So he said he doesn't know actually where he is exactly. And when we asked about him, his past work as a child, he said he doesn't remember his childhood at all. He remembers like an age, like something from 6 to 20 or something like this. And what I see was youngsters. He was showing youngsters which live in a colony on some kind of a, well, in my perspective it looked something like Mars, but he didn't actually show anything or tell any words that it was Mars. It was only my interpretation because of the color, and there were white buildings on it like capsules, and there were many students the same as him, and they were taught, but they weren't taught about the subject what they will be doing. They were taught about the subject of enhancing brain capabilities, like doing logical tests and everything. They were training their brain. They were using to train their brain at the highest potential only. And there were, you know, happy people, happy students there and everything. They were all in white clothes. They were so happy, and it turned out to be the happy. You know what I understood is the propaganda or the brainwashing can change all humans to be happy, although they are complete slaves. So he was showing images that they are giving like a promise if they do this service to some kind of a propagandic. I will tell what he said. And these students were there, you know, learning and studying, enjoying and having an exciting time about their life. They all to me seemed happy. And they were given a promise that they would live in the other area there, where they're completely free. They were in the other area. They were adults there, and they were completely free. They can have a family life and such like this. But all they need to do is they need to have a service. They need to sign up or being drafted to a service, work in a cosmical project of which they didn't know where they were working. They were like scheduled, and they were brought to many, and those scientists were split up. Nobody knew where they were taking, and they were split up to different areas of the cosmical laboratories. And he said that he doesn't know where he's working. And in his case, he was starting to work at the shifting into realities projects. And he said that he knew only about the subject where he was working only until then he was brought to this spaceship laboratory, and he never knew what he was working, but because of the enhanced brain capabilities, he could pick up the subject really quickly, really quickly, and he started doing experiments and stuff like this. And then he was talking about the subject that he was brought, how this works. He's sitting in his cabinet. Some people bring in a prepared subject, which was in this case a male with yellow hair, blonde hair. And this, he was talking about that it's to do a reality shift and like a travel into a different reality with a person, with a human who is not consciously prepared. It's really difficult, because he said that if an unprepared person wants to do a complete shift into realities, he goes through a void. Like he said, it's something that you drop into something sort of like in a water. You're in a floating state, but it's not water. You cannot sense the pressure of the water, and so you're brought into like a void, another reality, and then you all of a sudden jump out into another reality where you've been assigned to. And because of this shock through this void, the soul energy has a increased vibration. And it's a shock for the soul. And what happens after 3 or 4 these travels, he said that those people do not classify any reality as the truth. The people turn like this is not real. This reality is not real, and they have like a increased spiritual awakeness, let's say, not in a pleasurable way, and they start to like commit suicides, and they start to reject this reality, and they stop talking to anybody, because they all of a sudden start to realize that this reality is unreal, because of the void in which their soul's energy, his energy body, was shaken. And they have a much closer connection to their true self, to their soul, and a huge disconnection from the reality in which they are living. And so he understands the truth, but he's not ready for that, and they are becoming like reality rejection, they would say. And thus then he says that the subjects on these projects are prepared. He said he doesn't know how do they prepare them, because that current subject of he was talking about was he's constantly like not paying attention to actually what's going on. He's like in a constant uplifted state of just smiling and like excited. He's like in a uplifted state. And what happens is that he said why is it necessary? Because when he enters another reality, is transformed to another reality, he doesn't much pay attention to what's going on. Like he just does his job, come back, and when he comes back after that trip, because of the taking back of him, how I will explain it a little bit later, that subject floats away and comes back, and he's like, what's going on? And he has done the experiment what was necessary to be done at the other reality. He's right here back, and he's like, what happened? And he doesn't have all the memories from there because of the taking back. I will talk a little bit later, and the subject is back. But because he didn't pay much attention to it, he was prepared. He said maybe he's prepared by injections, but what the scientist did check is brave. He put some kind of scanner on his brain, like something right here, and he checked the brain activity to just report what was his brain wavelengths, and just report what was his brain activity before he went into the other reality. And then he comes back. He has done the experiments. Some crew picks him up. Picks the person up, and he doesn't know what he was, he doesn't know where he went, he doesn't know why did they need the research, but he needs to report all the things that were given for him to report. And he said, well, I'm really excited to talk to you because I have nobody to talk to. It's like meetups with other scientists and share their exciting stories happen really rare, and he's basically all the time alone. So really, he doesn't know why is he doing. He knows what he is doing. He doesn't know why the subject is bringing, what actually he will be doing. There or some information he knows, but mainly it's like we're just doing reports. Mainly just doing reports. So now about the subject, how the move to another reality happens. He prepares the subject, which is brought already prepared. He does something. He showed some kind of equipment on the hand and some kind of equipment on the stomach right here, where the second energy center is. He said that subject of his was already a third time, and he didn't have any such side effects as the previous subjects because of the different preparation of this traveling with the brain activity. He doesn't the subject doesn't pay attention to where he is and what he's doing. He's like, just do the job and come back. And what happens is, he said one of the tasks was bring fossils to that another reality, and one of the tasks was bring the fossils back from that another reality. So the equipment is like a door. They energize it. You can see some kind of floating there. The subject goes in. He's jumped into some kind of energetical place, like a floating water, and then that energy is aligned to the parallel reality where he floats in, where he jumps in, and he just falls a little bit from the ground down, and he's there. And he said that particular reality and where they went was, as he said, a higher this light energy and a more floating energy, he said. He said it was in a much higher density, for as we can say. And he said that it's really difficult to do work in higher or really he said everything in his physical world consists of this light energy in a particular wavelength, resonance. For example, let's call it resonance. And he said that higher realities or parallel realities with a different resonance, he said our physical reality is like a stretched rubber band. When you pull it, it resonates really fastly, thus creating a density and physical perspective, like denser and so on. The higher density reality where they went, he said that fogged energy is in a floating, more like not stretched like the rubber bandage, and therefore that reality has a completely different quality values. He said it's more like we have water, it's more like air compared to water, that reality. But it's also physical, etc. But he said that reality consists of much brighter, everything shines brighter, the sky is more yellow, like not blue, like more yellow, like everything is really beautiful there. And they brought some fossils to that place, and they brought some fossils from that place back to this reality, and said everything that was brought back slowly got vaporized, turned into smoke and disappeared. Everything was brought from that reality. He said that it's something to do with the energy, light, vibration. Not something to do, but it is related to the energy, light, vibration, that when it comes here, it vaporizes and enters all the material which is here. So this reality eats down that, and that energy just vaporizes out and turns into sky and into air, just fades into air, and it aligns to our reality energy. But when a fossil is brought from here to that reality, that fossil lowers into ground, and all the material went into the ground, and it's gone. It's like it's in what I saw, it's like a little bit of like a magical thing. It just vaporizes and clears. He said it's because of the different qualities of the energy, the source energy vibration, the cloud energy vibration. He said it's because of these qualities. And yeah, and he said when the being comes back from, when the subject comes back from these experiments, he doesn't remember where he was. And actually that's a really nice thing, because he doesn't have the memory of what actually happened. He doesn't have the memory of what actually happened, and therefore he doesn't reject this reality where he is. He said it's because of the taking back. It's because of the taking back. He said that when it's about time to take him back, on the stomach there is this kind of a device that gives his body his energy field. He said it's the organic. We are organic, as I understood, and everything which is organic has a particular energy frequency of the reality of which he is in. So this device stores and saves his own energy vibration of where he is, so he doesn't vaporize but and turns into the smoke, but he how to call it, I don't know, when it's about time to return back, this energy activates the energy field that's held around him to take him back to the laboratory. And he comes back, and he's like, you know, for example, he's what I saw, he's walking the subject, and all of a sudden he starts floating. He doesn't understand what's going on. He floats, and then he's in the room. And he's like, what happened? What happened? And he doesn't have much more any of these memories. He's like, what happened? And he remembers some things or some memories, but he to him it's nearly as a dream, just because of the coming back. And it was specially done with the preparation of this subject. He was specially prepared, so he doesn't have a full awareness of what's happening. He just went away, does his job, and come back. He doesn't have the full awareness. And when he comes back, he just does the reports of the experiment. People take him away, some crew and staff take him away, everything is done. Everything is... he doesn't have no clue what was the experiment for. So fossils, and he said to do experiments you have to give the subject an experiment, what he needs to do there in that reality. He does these experiments, comes back with the reports of these experiments. If you take the fossils from there and back to a higher energy, like let's say a density, it's nearly impossible. He said it's they vaporize. You can do something quick, but it vaporizes. Okay, so that was about the realities, and my father asked about teleportation. He said no, that's not teleportation. Teleportation was also used, as he was talking about. He was talking about ultrasonic sound waves of teleportation. He said you need to hit an object so strongly with the sound to teleportate him from this place to another place, and it was a different technology, but he said that you can only teleport some kind of a non-metal objects. He said that humans mainly consist much of there's metals inside the human bodies. It's really difficult for to be a comfortable or beneficial like teleportation with that technology. But he said that I shared lots of things, and yeah, so another information which I remembered was also from the channeling experience. He said that or the information was that there are also experiments when people are brought from different realities, parallel realities, which energy, vibration is really close to our realities. People are brought from that realities, other realities, put in our civilized life. He said that these experiments are conducted because of these, to observe how are they doing, to observe how their psyche is accepting this reality, because they went through this void, they're brought here, they're living out their life, a really similar reality, they're living out their life. He said that there could be complete civil people, which of you are not aware and you maybe saw them on streets. It's like an ordinary people are brought and they're closely being observed. How is his reaction to life, how is he reacting, just because of the void going through this void, that they can become like, hey, something is not right here, hey, something is not going on, something is not, I have different memories, and etc, etc, and they're like, something is wrong, something is completely wrong. And just observe how they adapt to that reality. And people from our reality are also brought to a different reality, like to see how are they doing in these experiments. And then of course they don't know what's going on with them, and so continuing, and then he was talking about he said that, well, he has done experiments also of the topic, because he said many times there's nothing to do, and he did some experiments. He took this light, there was like a equipment where he can take this source energy, and he took it in hand, and he said that created him a telepathical ability of, he said not many people know that he did this, and he said that it created a telepathical ability, and he said that he chose this experience of which he is in only to grow his own personality, only to grow his own personality with understanding. He said a person like him, his higher self incarnation, exists many other places, in many other places also, as a scientist, as a doctor, in many other places. He said, but they are quite dumb, they are quite dumb, they're doing something, they're not aware of the, he said, higher consciousness, they're not aware of it. He said that everything that is material will through time die out, change, or you know, like a tree falls down after several years, it's nothing there anymore. I don't know, a rock, no, but like you said, everything without, like everything dies or recycles in a sense. He said it's because when an object stops receiving the higher consciousness energy or the source energy, he stops existing. He slowly stops existing, and the object turns into prime some kind of material. He said that like a wood that burns, or to see what's left, nothing. Just I don't know how to call it in English. The dust, gray dust. And he was telling, it's really difficult to explain this. He was telling that reality. He was saying that reality. Like reality rooms. We all exist in reality rooms. All universe is made up of reality rooms. And each of this reality room has a different energy vibration caused by this source energy memory. He said source energy memory. He said that information, but he said memory. It's information but memory. And all these realities play out of this source informational memory. The source informational memory, he said, everything was created, and then at one point everything came, all the universe came back to the source energy, like a huge field of light, where all that information is inside, everything has ever been and everything what has ever happened. A consciousness, individual consciousness, which is basically you and me and everybody who's watching and everything who's around, all he does is rememberizes an experience, and thus in a reality room experiences this remembrance of this information, that everything is around the source energy, and our consciousness just taps into that remembrance point, and it creates a reality. It creates a reality, a more denser reality. And he said there are rooms where the energy is more denser, and there are rooms where energy is more like a higher energy density, like a higher, like a not so physical. And he said everything is remembrance. Everything is just informational remembrance. And he said that you have to understand that there is nothing physical. It's just the energy and information in the energy that creates vibration and creates physical or less physical matter. He said that what they are doing in their experiments are taking this energy and manipulating it to transform into another reality and transform back, because those energies are matching, and it changes the, now we call it the remembrance point of where is the consciousness is tapping into and looking. So it's basically, it was really interesting. It gave me so many confirmations of previous what was channeled. He showed that, for example, a consciousness, when you become higher in consciousness, when you become higher awareness, you have more connection to the higher self energy, which is basically the tremendous amounts of the source energy. This source energy already has all the information, all the things that have ever happened, and you can enter those things that happen and become and create them real and experience them real in reality places where you want to experience them. It's like tapping into and making it real, and once you're away, that reality, let's say, it doesn't stop existing, it still exists, but you are not observing it and you're not making it real. He didn't say in those words, I just say it in those words for to me easier to describe this information. Although I can translate that channeling, but it was a 2-hour long video, it's so difficult for me to find time to translate such a thing. So what else? He said also that there are convoys being sent to different parallel realities or different planets using this technology. Like I saw, like some kind of military crew, some kind of convoys, equipment is being brought to another place. As he showed also that you can create laboratories using this equipment in different places, like for example on the moon. Like he didn't say the moon, I said, for example, like on the moon you just use this technology to bring piece by part equipment, and crew members over there just stack it together and the equipment is ready and the laboratory is built part by part there. So he said also about the manifestation of the objects. He didn't say manifestation, he said source energy manipulation and information putting into these objects. He said you can use this energy, you create that object, and he said then you take it out, it slowly vaporizes that object that they created. But he said that that was in the beginning. Later on they figured out how to make this object last for much longer periods of time. So that was only in the beginning that these say equipments that manifest objects worked fine, worked not so fine, but then they managed to build them much better. So talking forward about the parallel realities, he started talking about his personal understanding. He said not many people understand this in his laboratories, but he said, well, he was joyful all the time. He was like, everything is fine, you know. Many people, because of the loneliness, they cry, and he has some kind of telepathical connection to some of the people there, and they talk telepathically to them, change information. He said not too many can do it, a couple, only those who are involved in such an experiment because of the connection with the light energy, their telepathical abilities rise up. But the telepathical abilities is telepathical because they jump into the source energy. And from this source energy, they look upon with intuition, with sensations, the information of that memory where is the other person at right now, and it creates him this connection. They're just connecting through the source memory. He said, all the universe is just a remembrance. It's just a remembrance of the information. And what else was there? It gave me so many answers to what are parallel realities, how everything is made, and first of all, it gave me an information which I was struggling with. It was I have friends who also channel, and I have friends who also communicate clearly with people who have died. It's like, you know, when somebody dies, you can feel that somebody is in your room, and you can have like a, let's say, physical to non-physical conversation with somebody which is in the room. There's another way of getting information. It's like through the above, and the person may be in the room, I may not be in the room, but you see this through light. You see the information about the person, you see everything about the person. And my conclusion is that in the source energy, you tap into the memory of that person's information. Just tap into the source, and everything is available. Everything completely is available of just the remembrance. And when you tap into the energy, tap into the sensation, you get all the information on which you are focusing. You get the remembrance. You get the remembrance, a memory of that reality that has already been, but you have it through the source, and the source energy fields. It was crazy, so that the answer is you can communicate 3D physically through here and get clean information, and you can read the informational fields from the source energy and get information. So that was my answer. There are two ways of doing the channeling, two ways, and I was like, how is it possible? How is it possible? And that gave me so much answers to it. And there was a lot of information. I don't remember much of it. I always try to not remember anything of what I was channeling, because it creates headaches trying to remember that. What was else? What was else? I remember he talked something about He said, you want to ask about why isn't he changing his reality because of the awareness state with the higher energy connection. He said that he he doesn't want to change anything. He's there and he likes and he enjoys what he's doing. And he said it's for his growth, although he said that many of the times, many things of which he didn't want to happen, didn't happen. And he said he thinks that those are the points of changing the remembrance, informational energy. It's like when you are in a higher state, a higher energy state or consciousness awareness state, like normally some people who meditate are in the higher awareness state, they have this understanding of non-personality, only the higher consciousness, which remembers all his incarnations as soon as he wants to tap into them. And it's a non-physical, non-personal place. It's like you have to be ready to be there. He said it's like a state of enlightenment, he said. He said it's not common for a scientist to speak in those words. I'm a little bit different. I accept everything with joy here, what's happening, although many do not accept it as joy. And he was saying that when you get closer to this higher awareness state, higher consciousness state, you realize that you are you live out what has happened already. You tap into that energy information which is already in the higher consciousness and you shift to different reality rooms which are higher in density. He said the higher in density, the higher in energy, you can flow through these realities, the happenings. When you're lower in our density, he said that in our density, when we as we have right now, when we start getting this higher consciousness energy, it starts do so many unharmonious things to our stretched out dense energy vibration. He said it creates unharmonics, as he said, you can receive panic attacks, you can have fears, you can have like screaming feelings, you can have like shocking and rejections of the reality you can start to have. And he said it's not common to receive large amounts of energy from that, but he said that it is possible, but it has to be like the subjects, they get shock from these reality shifts. He said it has to be in a harmony. It has to be in a harmony, energy harmony. Talk about energy harmony, not in harmony as maybe we understand it to be from our perspective. What else was there? I think my father asked, have you came in presence with ETs? He said no, but he said, but from the smells he gets, sometimes he can smell, like he can tell that there are different beings, not only humans here, there are like creatures here also, just from the smell he can sense. He said, well, I think there are definitely different types of beings here in the spaceship, but he said he has not come into presence of any of them. And he also said that it's not allowed to talk about those things. He's not allowed to talk with them also, but at one subject he came back from this trip, through the reality trip, parallel or other reality trips, and he said that he was in contact with, as he described, a different race, yellow-like beings, head like this, short throat, long short hairs, and they were like really friendly with him. And but he said he is not allowed to ask him, and he said if you do, as I understood, if you do anything which is not allowed, you can get into deep trouble. So they'll just avoid this. They just avoid like getting information which is not necessary and sharing information which is not necessary, reporting information which is not necessary, or allow him to be interested in other things which are not allowed or not necessary. Okay, I have another hour left to go in the memory. Yeah, so continuing, as I then made conclusions myself, my father said, well, yeah, maybe we can communicate another time. And he said, yes. And father said, well, with tea, that you can come here and teleport to this reality. He said, oh no, that will not happen. He's not allowed to do this. And I said, well, we can have a tea. And he was like questioning me, what's a tea? He doesn't know what is it. And I was like, showing him like through my visual perspective, it's like a cup with like peppermint inside. And to my perspective, I felt like he doesn't know, or what's plant life, or like what's that. And I said, what do you drink? And he showed like a narrow long bottle which was a little bit shining, but like to me it looked like crystal clear, a little bit shining water. He said they don't need that much because they drink that water. As I picked up, he nearly barely eats at all. What else was there? He was, father said, well, maybe you can teleport father. And he was like, He was like, maybe. But he was like, well, I'm not allowed to do that. And he was like, no, not. But he said, well, but I can send you a little bit of this light energy. He said, well, maybe silently somehow he can do, nobody will know. He said, well, I will figure out. And at that point, I see he started to calculate something on like it wasn't the paper, it was like something on, he was calculating some kind of planetary placements. And he was something calculating like a trajectory to our reality or something. That was anything else. He was doing some calculations. And he left the channeling with, okay, I will see what I can do. But he was like curious. He was really friendly. And so my conclusion was that beings from other realities can invade other realities. And this was also the subject of when the Phaeton planet between Mars and Jupiter was destroyed, when it caused deep changes in our solar system, because of another reality started to invade our reality, our solar system. And it's like when you invade another reality, you have no care whatsoever. It's just another of billion realities. So what else? What else is new? And when you invade another planet, like for example, like Earth, you know, there's a society brought up there, there's politics brought up there, there's people in power which are brought up there. You invade this reality, those are all dumb people right there. You invade that reality, for example, like another highly advanced race which is not in the beliefs of good to do anything good here. When they invade, they're like, okay, how can we take them over? Of course we can like change and bring up or governmental or empowerment, but the most easiest what you can do is just invade politics, political system. You observe it, you invade it, you take the people in power because of their lack of knowing of technologies, lack of knowing about everything. You just invade them. You show them the technology, now you work for us, you promise them skies, you promise them everything, they start cooperating you, they start working for you, and just later you just, you know, brainwash them or do technologies with those people in power, and they just are, you didn't build up a new power, you just take the absolute elite and start to control completely them. And this is something information related also to channeling about how the Germans started to become cosmical travelers in the year of 1939. That was also an interesting experience. Also an interesting experience which I recorded in other videos about a secret corporation, Eagle Corporation or something, I don't remember. You can search it on YouTube, in the channel you can find it definitely. Secret Corporation Eagles, I guess it was called. And so yeah, that's how you invade, and you have absolutely no whatsoever worries about what happens in this reality, not whatsoever. He said also that Father asked, can you like travel to another reality where you meet yourself? He said that the higher consciousness has these reality rooms which have happened, and the thing is, when you go yourself to another consciousness reality room, it's the same energy consciousness of yourself, and when you meet that, one of those realities just disappears. He said that it's like, from physical perspective, the one reality just disappears. They merge together, and the higher, it's like we normally don't have a connection with the higher self. We normally don't have it. We are not aware of what's the universe and how it's made and how it exists. And when the higher consciousness, your awareness of the higher self comes connected with another energy and reality which is inside the higher self-consciousness, meeting yourself in another reality, one of them will disappear. He said it's not common and it's not necessary, and what will happen is those realities will merge together because they're made of the same energy vibration, because it's from the same oversoul, or from the same higher self. And it said it's not necessary to do it actually, because what you can do is you can shift to that reality and observe that reality from that individual, not going in. He said, basically that will happen sooner or later, when all realities merge together and return back to one huge higher self. Sorry, I said so much from my interpretation. But that's what I can do, just translate that information was said. But the information was as my father said, really scientific. He felt so scientific information. I can only remember and use it my words. The information was remembered, so don't accept it word to word that it was said like that. I use my words to explain this information. And what else was there? I think I explained most of the information, if not yet not all information. Okay, enough talking. I think I explained all of that information. If you have any questions, you can write them on comments or on the Art of Peace website, and I can talk there. There was something about reality shifting. He said that's his last incarnation. After that he will return back to the higher state, where he has no personality. Alright, I remember. And Father asked, well, what can you tell to us, what can you wish to us, like, at the ending of this? He said, don't take life personally, and don't take your personality personally. He said it's just a remembrance of a segment that has happened. It's just a remembrance. He said don't take it seriously and personally. So don't take anything personally. Don't accept yourself to be personally. I remember. And one thing was, he showed that everything what comes from the above, the source energy, as I saw, there was also a connection with the organic beings. I will skip that today. Connection with the organic beings. Sorry. our material here exists because it's a remembrance of the light energy, and the light energy creates our body. It's the information, and the light energy, what comes, gives us life. And when we go away, that energy from us is taken away. And he said, it's just this source light energy, source energy of light. The more you have it, the more aware and connected with the higher self you are, and the higher awareness you are. He used higher energy awareness. He didn't use like a higher self or anything like that. He used higher energy awareness. And yeah, so thank you for listening, and enjoy your day.